Welcome on the latest episode of the Aviation RC New Podcast.
Cast.
I'm here. You're here today with your host, Matt Allen, and his co-host,
Joe Webb.
Today we're going to bring you the top 5 shopping spots for RC. If you don't know where to go, here's the places we recommend.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Aviation RC New Podcast. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt.
And today, episode 92, we're going to be talking about the top places for beginners to shop. This kind of harkens back to one of our, earliest episodes?
It's like episode number 2 or 3.
Yeah,
and I was kind of going with the whole theory of, okay, you got started, you found us, you want to know all the things. First was kind of where to get started. And then second is like, okay, now you decided how you want to go. Here's the places you need to go to start looking. You know, because if you're new to the hobby, you don't know where to go shop other than your local store, maybe, and you might not even have one of those. So,
yep. So almost 3 years later, we're kind of hitting on it again, though we may have hit on it. Well, we've kind of hit on it a couple times, I guess, when we're talking about getting started in such a year. But I don't know. Yeah, I know you put in a sort of informal poll in the Discord to kind of see where people were shopping and where they were finding benefits. So we'll be talking about that in a little bit.
We'll definitely give the top 5 places that our Discord users use in this poll.
Oh, did you actually rank them?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty clear winners on those. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you for taking that tally.
No problem. Thank you Discord users for chiming in and letting us know where you shop so that we know where to put affiliate links. Just kidding. We haven't done that yet, but no, seriously, I really appreciate it. Honestly, I've always been curious kind of where other people shop, right? I mean, I know where I tend to go, but I'm always kind of curious. Are there other places out there that I'm not seeing? You know?
And the answer is?
There's a couple. Kind of, but not too many.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the places I'm well aware of. So,
well, before we get into all that, let's talk about some community events. We can talk a little bit about what we've been doing, and then we can dive into the history segment, and then that community stuff. You've got Bilgewaary that's kicking off, right?
Bilgewaary starts tonight. We're recording on the 31st of January, so. In 2 hours, hopefully we stop recording by then.
In an hour and 46 and a half minutes.
It will begin officially. I will put down a green flag on the forums as a post of and mark it at go. And then it's off and running. And so I'm gonna have a build party tomorrow night, which was already in the past. So if you join me, thank you. And I hope we had a good time. I'm sure we did. And then we're going to have one pretty much every weekend after that. I think you got a sim party, right? Next Friday?
Yes. So this coming Friday from when this episode releases, we're doing a sim party. Phoenix, pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, Phoenix.
Phoenix
so
RC
Phoenix
V6, right? 6.0.
Yeah. We've got links. We've actually got a whole channel for Phoenix RC links at the top of our Discord server. So if you're interested in coming to the sim party, join the Discord. If you haven't already, accept the rules, go to your role select channel, set yourself up as a sim pilot, and then once you accept the rules, then your all the other channels open up, and there's a channel that we use to hold all those links. So
we have
pull all that down.
All the links to the things, and we have, I think, either there's a brief description or at least there's links to videos on how to get started with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always reach out to in the sim channel, reach out to Joe or I and say, hey, I'm having this kind of problem. And one of our Discord users, if it's not us, we'll see what we can do to help you out. I'm sure.
Right, because as I've mentioned before, there's Windows did something weird with the controller or the transmitter drivers when you're using it as a joystick kind of system. So if you have any problems, reach out to one of us, preferably me, because I have worked on that and I can assist you with it. But that's going to be
I'm old and get annoyed by that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not like I'm in IT now or anything.
But yeah, well, fair enough.
That's going to be Friday, the 9th of February, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard?
Yep, Eastern Standard. Daylight is in the summer.
Okay. I can never remember that, but
it's okay.
8 p.m. And I think Discord will list it as local times if you're looking at the events in Discord.
It will.
Come out, have fun, join me. There's a few people that are planning to come out, and I'll see if there's anything fun I could put together for that other than all of us just being in a lobby flying planes. But
yeah, pretty much. They have a balloon pop that's usually kind of fun, but we've checked that out. Sometimes it's entertaining. It's more of an excuse to practice RC and chat with people that care about RC. I mean, at very worst, it's better than that, but and I've got build-a-roy parties each weekend, so I originally set it out to be the 9th every Friday, right? But I'll be with the sim party or trying to join in with that a little bit. And I may be building as I do that too. But I've also set a build party for Saturday, about midday, so that anybody who's in the European theater might be able to join us with that. So that's a week 2 challenge, and then we'll go back to the Fridays on week 3, 4, and I think the last week I have it set as March 1st. I don't know how to fix that, but it's going to be the 28th. It'll be the last day. Hopefully we can kind of reach out. People won't be building, but maybe we can just kind of get together and chat about how it went, what people's feedback was. And at that point, you're probably pulling all the videos that you tried to film about you flying or not. It'd just be kind of a good recap time, I think.
You want that date to be what?
The 28th of February. This is the Thursday.
It's updated. I got you.
You're the best. All right. Good. So we're setting those up, and I'm going to try to, I'm really terrible with making notifications on all the different places, but I will definitely put it, I've already got events set up in Discord. So if you're part of our Discord, another reason to join our Discord, there's links in every show note, most of the episodes. So click on that link. Like Joe said, you're going to be shunted to only one channel where it's basically the rules. And then click on an emoji to show that that you read the rules, and then all the other channels kind of open up. We also recommend you pick a role, so that way you get notified when things happen that pertain to those roles. Otherwise, we're looking forward to join us. When you do, there's events at the very top of the column of channels, and that you can show you're interested, and it'll notify you when they start coming close. So we're also going to try to put it out on social media. I might put a quick YouTube video together. I'm not sure.
From how often we talk about it, you'd think we were trying to push the server or something.
Honestly, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah,
I really
being able to talk to people. I was just making it funny.
No, we did, and we do.
It fell flat. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You made it sound like we're trying to be shills, but I think, but you got a point, because it does sound like that. But I think, in all honesty, it ends up being a rewarding place to get real-time feedback about the hobby, things you're thinking. If you have a question about stuff, maybe you want to share an idea and get some feedback. Flight test forums are really good for that. RC groups are also good for that. But you're not going to get, some of that stuff is not going to have instant feedback, right? So these guys are literally in there all the time, and if they see it, they're going to be like, "Well, that's really cool." The problem is the mental shelf life for it is pretty quick. Because again, if a lot of people are responding to your thing, it's not going to hold up and it's not going to be on the screen for terribly, for maybe a day. So what people will see. So, so that's the downside of it, right? The forums tend
I
to
suppose that's true.
be
Yeah.
easier to digest for a longer period, right? So everything has its place, but again, this is where if you got like, hey, I'm trying to work through this thing, and we might be able to point you in the right direction, get that solved, because we want to see you in the air just as much as you want to be in there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, journey time. I know I ordered in some soldering equipment, and I've been talking about the lights I've been working on. Still having trouble with those. I know it's not hobby necessarily related, but that's just what I've been working on. And tonight I actually desoldered a bad switch out of my mouse, and something went wrong.
Out of your mouse?
Out of my computer mouse.
Weird.
Yeah, it had a bad switch in it, and now I've put in a switch, and it's acting bad too.
Oh.
So I'm not sure what to do. But just getting soldering skills for when I go to solder an ESC or something.
Well, part of what you're working with the RGB is that you're trying to get RGB to be programmable for more than just whatever the little. I thought I had a remote right here where they have all the different colors and the timers on the things. Like it's its own control board, which is great. But what if you're like you and me, where you want to tie that to a throttle value, right? You want to tie it to a PWM signal, which would be smarter, right? Like for what we do. So if you can figure out a way to do that, and I know there's a way, that's going to be pretty awesome, because the RGB lights are a heck of a lot cheaper than the individual addressable LEDs, right?
Yeah, and the hope is that as I figure this stuff out, it'll be easier for me to return to the Arduino Nano 6-channel deal that I was trying to have ready for us for Flight Fest, and that just ended up not working. So,
gotcha. Well, I mean, look, if you're going to build a new Wonder really big, it wouldn't hurt to have that all set up in there.
Yeah, that's if I want to get started on that, I got to get started on that in the next week or two. So hopefully by next episode, I'll at least have a truss built.
You can join us in the build nights.
I could. I might.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an excuse for you to get together and hang out with us while you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should build a little bit, and it'll get you some progress done. Start seeing it come together pretty quick, I bet.
Yeah, I might do that. Okay. What have you been working on?
Mostly shop. I rearranged some of the tables, and I started pulling apart some boxes, because I'm not sure that I'm going to do it, but I want to do some hot wire cutting, because I may do, because I'm famously known for doing some stupid new something for the Builderoid build, because I've got all month for that, so why not, right? I don't have other projects at all. So I was looking for the wire, and I was looking for the power plug that I bought to go with that, so that I can control the temp. And I also needed it for something else. And I couldn't find the darn thing. So I started pulling apart box here and box there. And then, I started putting all that stuff in the appropriate containers and making appropriate containers for it. So I'm starting to get through the boxes that I just shoved on shelves so that they were out of the way, and starting to get the rest of the things in the right spot, getting rid of the cardboard boxes that I have and putting them in the totes and things. So get a little bit more organized. So made some headway in that, which was actually felt pretty good. So I'll be doing some of that. I think one of the projects I might be tackling is a small paint booth. That's something I want to get together. I've got a airbrush that I picked
love
up.
To get
so
one of those.
Right. So I decided, I saw one of the reviewers like, oh, this is one of the best, easiest beginner kind of deals. I'm like, cool, this is all I need. So I bought one, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of, I mean, it's cool, but I don't really have a good place to do that. Shoot. All right. Well, all right. Let me look into doing that. And it looks like it's a relatively fun kind of simple project. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. That's in the wings, as it were. I've been steadily working on the very large airborne aircraft carrier, and I've got both wings fully covered. I've got the landing, we'll call it the landing wide wing or plate wing,
right,
those are done. And I kind of blocked out where I think they're going to sit. And I'm building the fuse trussing and the fuse. Because I don't know. I didn't think it through. I said, okay, wings go here. Think that shape is this. This is the chute that's going to launch all the planes, which is the part I'm excited about. I'm like, I didn't really think through how exactly. Yeah. How am I going to support all that? I've got a couple of ideas, and honestly, it's just kind of two side plates, very similar to how I built the Clerican with the big broad side panels, but and internal trussing. But those the trussing and the side panels have large holes, and I'll put a film over top to make it one steady surface. It's easy to keep unwrinkled. It creates a solid, sturdy surface and a very strong, lightweight design. So I'm going to set that up for the internal structure, and then I'm going to work on the shooting mechanism pretty quick. I think I'm going to start with rubber bands at the moment for now, but the goal is to get a spinning wheel launcher basically in there. And I've got the 2 motors set aside, so I've got to build some power pod setups. I was going to download some of those today, and I've got a deliverable on Thursday. It's tomorrow. So it's been hot and heavy all week.
You were telling me about some of that.
Yeah, I had a day get wasted. And that's at the end of the right before a deliverable it's basically the review part of the deliverable, but that's like the very first part of, hey, we're almost done. We're going to send it out. Everybody take a look at this. So internally it's like we finished. Everybody look at it, make comments so that we can polish it. Right. And yeah, we like 2 days before because we're going to post Thursday. It was like yesterday or the day before. We had somebody kind of come, oh, I finally looked at this. Yeah, what you're going to do isn't going to work. It's like, we've been doing this for 4 months. So
where were you 3 months ago?
Exactly. And then so I was like, okay, well, whatever. Ultimately, it's better to know now than when it gets finished, right? Because dollar signs get much greater when it goes out the door, right? So, so that project is kind of taken up. Normally, I kind of have my lunch times have been 15 minutes. It's not enough time to really kind of tackle pieces of this. So, hopefully I'll get to the rest of this in the next couple of days. I would love to try to see it get in the air. I was hoping to print out like basically the pod container, much like the Kraken has, and a pod. And I basically set up 2 pods in the wings, put the batteries in there directly, just to get it flying right, I have other things I've got to test, and I can certainly start putting those together too. We just setting up solar panels, setting up the larger motors I want to have on the big size thing, so I can start testing RPMs and amp draw and all that kind of stuff on that apparatus. So that way, when we're ready, I know how I got to set it up, and I've got it tested. With this other system, I can start putting the FPV system in there to make sure that that's set up and working. Because I can certainly set it up on the little guy as well as the big guy, just kind of translating it. So right now, again, building the fuse truss structure. I'm hoping to get that done by the end of the week. I'd like to give it an initial chuck this weekend.
Ooh.
I know it's a little ambitious, but I want to get that done. Because if I can get that done, I will be it'll get it off the table for Builduary a little bit. Plus, that's the first thing I'm building in Builduary is 4 disc planes. That, well, they're not the ones that I'm sizing for this individual plane. They're also small enough to be able to land on there. So I would like to be able to fly it around, and if I can get somebody to fly the disc planes and see if they can land on it, it's a good case study on it. So, so it would be like a winner on a couple different fronts, right? I get a couple of the Builduary builds done. I'd get the test flights in, and I'd be able to test some of the setup, and then I have most of the month to kind of fiddle with that and get it set, making progress in between the Builduary builds.
Winner chicken Alfredo dinner.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah, so
Okay.
things are moving steady. I was kind of hoping I'd be a little bit further along, but my couch and almost all of The Walking Dead claimed me. Half of The Walking Dead. I ended up, I was like, oh, whoa, I forgot. They have the whole, I finally figured out where I was in the story. I was like, oh, I got to see the rest. So I ended up finishing. It was good. Yeah, but that's most of the journey. It's going to get active in the next couple weeks. So if you want to join the nonsense or see what progress I'm making, join me on one of the build nights. Yeah, I promise you, I'll be working on something. And whatever project that I'm also working on is going to be in the background.
She is snoring up an absolute storm over there.
Well, that just means she's relaxed and safe.
She's relaxed, all right. She's spread all across that bed. Okay. Anyway, history segment, eh?
Yep. So we had a request. We talked about this a little while ago, you and I, about pulling in some of the listener requests that you said that you had pulled them aside and had a small list. And I was like, okay, great. So this is a listener request from Sasha. I think he goes, it was a flyer and foam. No, wait, what is that? Shoot. I closed the window so I can't.
Flying in style.
Ah, that's it. Flying in style.
Flyer in style.
That's it. And he is, he's one of our younger members, and he is he loves planes. He's an incredible kid to just sit down and talk about planes with, and I mean, he really knows his stuff, which is really cool. So he's like, oh, can you talk about the Draken, the J-35 Saab Draken? It's a Swedish Air Force plane that was designed at the end of World War II during the beginning of the jet age, kind of as probably the F-14 was kind of coming in its infancy, maybe something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in 1948, the Swedish developed an unstable double delta wing supersonic jet fighter that started out going Mach 1.5 or 1.4, and it eventually developed into a Mach 2.0 aircraft. So it is quite something to behold.
In 1948, man, that was cooking.
Yeah. I mean, that's cooking today. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the planes kind of get to the 1.4, and they do have afterburner to 2, right? But mostly that's high end, no matter which way you shake it, right?
I mean, do you need to go much faster on that, really?
Well, I don't know, depends on what you're trying to do, right?
I guess that's true.
And this isn't designed to be an intercept aircraft, so it's designed to get I guess word that something's happening and quick get a plane in the air to stop it from coming into your territory, right? That's kind of the gist of this kind of aircraft. Now remember, this 1948. This is an era before computer modeling, and all the testing and development and all that stuff was done, with core mathematics and wind tunnel testing and actual flight testing that was generally really, really risky, especially for this, because they were testing in a completely new aeronautical concept of the double delta. Like delta wings were already, I don't know about new, but they were relatively new. They were kind of...
So what is double delta then?
So there's the first kind of, we'll call it set of wings. That's the center portion. And then there's a completely separate wing coming off of the back of it. So there's like 2 steps to the wing airfoil.
Oh, see, I thought that first step of wing then was like engine intake, and that's primarily what it was doing.
It is, but if you note, it's kind of curved. And
I do see that. Yeah.
That whole section is effectively a part of the airfoil. Right. And then it goes to those little, I'll call it winglets, but they're the exterior wing panels. And
right.
those are, we'll call it more traditional sweeping of the jet wing. And this is just me talking. This is not read off any kind of script or anything, but that's the thing, is nobody really understood how that worked. And what it was trying to do was achieve, obviously, terribly high speeds for the era, right? Cutting edge speeds, as well as low speed flyability and high speed maneuverability.
Okay.
relatively speaking, right? So it's trying to fly in like 3 or 4 different regimes, well, which isn't
Hmm.
easy, right? That's what the Tomcat Swing Wing was basically built to do, right? It couldn't when you wanted to go slow. Well, that Delta Wing doesn't work that well. So like, oh well, we just need to move the wings up forward and make them more, you know, long and slender, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, we got the maneuverability we need at slow
Oh
speed,
yeah,
but it
easy
doesn't.
solution. Not much engineering
No,
involved.
not much at all. No, but the idea is like, oh, good. Well, I mean, this is the way it can work. But as you get towards, Mach speeds, that doesn't work at all, and you have really the delta is the only way to do it. So how do you transition a plane from functioning one way, but yet somehow getting into the other shape so it can function in the higher speed regime, right?
Hmm.
This was the concept, right? That was, I think we can do it this way. And nobody had tested it. Nobody knew. Again, pre computers, there's no flight controllers to balance anything, right? So they basically took almost a decade, I think, to rigorously test and do a bunch of flight testing, and really truly put it through its paces. And they would go through, and much like most like brand new planes, they'd go up and they'd test one. It's kind of what they do now and what they've always done, but they test one aspect at a time. And what they realized is that this plane is on the edge of stable. I mean, much like any good fighter aircraft, right?
Right.
And so when they did a subscale test on the airframe, it was on a model that they called the Little Dragon Saab 210. And so it wasn't like a full scale, but it was like a 75 or 80% frame. And so they did a bunch of the tests on this. And then they realized after they proved it out, they decided to order 3 full-size ones. And they were built. So the Little Dragon, was pretty much instrumental in showing that this concept not only works, but it works well enough to go full scale and get some planes in the air. When they ended up finishing this in March 1960, and they named it after the Nordic Dragon, and they designated it J35 or J35 Draken. The J is or JA is I think what they ended up getting to is like the crud. It's the Swedish name. The Jager out of freaking. It's terrible. I should know that. Joe's hopefully Joe's kind of pulling up and he's going to butcher it too. Butcher with me,
yeah,
make me feel not alone. But it was the very first double delta wing, and it was the first one that was capable of the Cobra maneuver, which if you've ever seen Top Gun, the original, they basically pull a high G pull up on the nose, and it creates basically the whole plane becomes an air brake, and the whole plane dramatically slows down, and then they can remaneuver the nose so it goes level again, and they can basically catch up to the person they just zipped behind before anybody even knew it. It said it was the first European jet build that had passed Mach 2.0 in level flight on January 1960. But that Cobra maneuver, now they said the Cobra maneuver really isn't functional in a dogfight, but it really does highlight the incredible maneuverability of this plane. And if you've ever seen it, if you go on the Wikipedia site, there's a moving GIF that shows a maneuver, and it's really cool because it's like the jet's flying at near Mach speeds, and it just basically turns upright. So the nose is pointing straight in the air. And if you see 2 planes going together, that one that just went up, up and down, basically slows down almost immediately and drops right past the plane it's next to. And then you saw it as it's doing that, the nose is coming right back down. So, I mean, it's incredibly agile. And of course, if that's what you're doing, to be able to get a target lock on the plane that was originally chasing you,
that's the way to do it.
yeah. And they said that again in real dogfights that you end up creating enough of a target for long enough where you're probably not going to make it past the maneuver. But if it truly is a surprise, that would it would work. But I guess they proved out that it's probably not going to be functional, but boy, it sure does show off the abilities and capabilities of this plane, this jet. Let's see. It flew as a capable interceptor and dogfighter through the mid-1980s. And it was replaced eventually by the JA-37 Viggen, which we'll probably cover later. So that was developed kind of after. And then eventually, a decade later, the JAS-39 Gripen. But due to delays for the Gripen, it saw service all the way through 1999. So it was supposed to be replaced in 1980. But because of delays, it kept its service. Now, granted, it wasn't like the premier interceptor, because they had the Viggen for that.
Why do I feel like the Viggen was that plane that you had me help you hand launch when you were first getting me into the hot? Did you ever put landing gear on that?
No need. That thing skids great along the ground. That's good. Yeah.
But that was one of the things way back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of my first planes it was like the first EDF I built. And the thing flies great. I cracked it straight in half. I glued it together. It still flies. I think somehow the ESC limits got reset. So, and I never really pulled it out to fiddle with it again. So maybe I should do that. But so ultimately in 1999, back to the Draken, it was retired in December. Now, it has been exported to Austria, Denmark, and Finland, and it is used for training in the United States.
It's actually a pretty long service life.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, if you look at is it A4? Shoot. People yelling into their earphones. Oh, God, now I can't remember the name. I'm not going to worry about it.
So you got to give me a little bit to go off of.
I know, the Phantom, I believe.
Phantom?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Gosh.
Yeah, A4 Phantom.
Yeah, okay. Whew, hold on, wait.
Yeah.
Let me pat myself on the back.
Sorry, the F4 Phantom.
F4 Phantom, too. That thing had a really long service life. For the same deal. I think it started in 1958 and then went all the way. It was introduced in 1960, same year actually, as the Gripen. It doesn't say what year it was retired. So, but I remember the service life for it went all the way through into the 80s, mid 80s, and so I guess this served as more of a training role, maybe near the end of its service life, the Draken. But it is a really sleek looking plane, and I've seen some people build some RC models of it. And it's a really cool. I think the hard part with it is the intakes are really tiny. So to make an EDF, you're probably gonna have to put a bunch of cheater holes in the bottom, like intake holes that are kind of out of sight, so that way you can get enough air to feed the EDF. But I mean, as a jet, it's fine, right? But as an EDF, it kind of needs air volume to compress and push. So this plane, rough specs on it. Again, it went through a number of iterations from A to J, I think, and each one of them had its own separate upgrades. So I'm going to give you kind of some ranges that represents early upgrades to late upgrades, right? The length is more or less 50 feet. I think it changed length based on, as I kind of put different components in. I think it shifted like a foot, over its total length over the different models, but it was about 50 feet long. It was about 31 feet in wingspan, 30.9 specifically. Its empty weight was anywhere between 14,500 pounds to 16,400 pounds. And it's all up weight with all the accoutrements were 22,200 to 27,400. So that's a 8,000. In the beginning, it had an 8,000 pound payload roughly, and that increased to about 11,000 pound payload. Yeah, but obviously to be able to get different armatures on it and increase its capacities, I suppose. So let's see. It had 1 to 4 drop tanks, It had 1 or 2 cannons, again, depending on the model. Started out with 1 and worked its way to having 2 internal cannons, 4 air-to-air missiles, but the last model had 6. It had 2 air-to-air rockets, but they 4x19, and then they would have 4. It looked like they were basically different bays of 19 rockets, and I'm assuming that those are chaff rockets, maybe, or maybe somebody knows more about it than I do. It seemed like most of it, there's a handful of small armaments, like the cannons and the air-to-air missiles, and the drop tanks, and then after that, it was pretty much, I think those were just defense rockets. The engine was an RM6B, and then the latest model moved to a C. Latest couple models.
Okay.
And there's a picture of there's a if you go to Wikipedia, has a handful of pretty excellent pictures of this plane. There's a bunch of really interesting YouTube videos. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this plane, this didn't have like an electronic guidance system. It didn't have, it wasn't fly-by-wire exactly, but they did have strong, I guess it was fly-by-wire because they did have strong, like double pneumatic pistons. And they said that the feedback, the pilots wouldn't get feedback. So it's kind of like a weird dead stick thing. So they ended up developing a feedback system that wasn't like a direct feedback. It wasn't like receiving pressure from the pneumatic cylinders and kind of giving resistance to the stick. But it would give you something like a linear relationship. It wasn't a direct relationship, but it was to give you a sense of, oh no, you're pushing near the limit, right? So give the big pushback at the end of its stick movement kind of deal. Like it may have been a linear rail, whereas if it were direct relationship, that's not even a word, but a direct relationship, it probably would have a more exponential resistance feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know, because it's not like I heard an interview by a pilot or anything. It would have been really cool to hear, but that was one of the interesting concepts. Again, remember, this is in the age where they were just trying to figure out how to do computer-aided assisted flying systems, or fly-by-wire, where you were no longer connected directly to the control surfaces by pulleys, right? You were using pneumatic or gear-driven systems to deflect surfaces. So yeah, pretty cool.
Okay.
Pretty cool airplane. There's some really neat. It's just a neat looking plane. It's unlike others out there. I don't think there's any other that's close.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything, like, I'm looking at it. Off the top of my head, like, I don't see another plane nothing's coming to mind that has similarities to it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Did you click on the link to the GIF?
No, but I will.
And go ahead and take a look at that. It's pretty neat. Again, it's just a...
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, literally, like, within, I don't know, half a second or a quarter second, it goes vertical. It drops back behind the plane that's following alongside it, and it maneuvers in place to be about the same distance behind it as it was originally in front.
Yeah, it's not even like it gained that much altitude in the process.
No altitude at all, almost. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's incredible.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Can you imagine being the first one flying along, all of a sudden some guy does this thing?
Yeah.
What?
So, okay, I'm going home now.
More importantly, how does it not bend the airframe? You know what I mean? Like, what? It's so cool. Yeah, and so this plane had a number of firsts. It was definitely a pivotal piece of aircraft and a pivotal piece to ingenuity and engineering and, aerodynamics and aviation. So really, really cool plane. I appreciate Sasha bringing it up and asking us to give us, get into this model. Now, I haven't found a good foam model or a balsa model. I know they're out there, so we'll put together a handful of links for you to build. I know you can get a PLA, so you can get a 3D printed version. I'm pretty sure I've seen one or two of those where people have made a 3D printable model that you can print out and put an EDF in. I know there's a number of balsa designs, so the only thing I really haven't checked to see is if you wanted to build it flight test style. I know there's a couple guys on the forums that were trying to put one together. I don't know how successful they were. Again, the real hard part is making sure to feed the EDF with enough intake.
That definitely looks like a Jetworks RC might have something.
Yeah, I mean, it lends itself to like kind of a flat plate design, like a profiler almost.
Yeah, they've got the SU-57 Felon.
And I could see easily putting like vectoring motor mount where you control the direction that the motor turns. So you can get high maneuverability.
They got the Mirage. Yeah. Jetworks RC. They got the Draken.
Well, put the link, if you don't mind, put the link in the show note there.
Sure.
So we can pass that along to folks. And I'll look up in the forums, see if somebody's got a plan they put together, see if they... But if not, we've got one there, and I'll pull a couple other balsa links and stuff like that. So
yep,
yeah, that way if you want to build one, go ahead and do it. It's it'll definitely be a head turner and an eye catcher while you're out at the field, I'm sure. Really cool.
I'll just throw this one down at the bottom. You can figure out where you want it.
Yep, sounds good.
Nice.
Good. I should probably spell that correctly. All right. Very good. Fat Fingers McGee. That's me.
Yeah, well.
All right. Okay, so let's get into places we shop. Let's talk about the
or at least places our community shops.
Well, we're going to definitely give you the list that has the top 5. The top 5 places that people in our Discord shop. And I'll also read off the other honorable mentions there, because if but some of them we have here in our list. If you're looking for ready to fly, you really can't be going to the local hobby store. They oftentimes have a range of Horizon Hobby and some of the other manufacturers, but most of the time it tends to be Horizon Hobby. And if you go to other major hobby outputters like Tower Hobbies or Aloft Hobbies used to be the store for flight test for a while. So they're pretty big in the hobby. I'm not sure if they knew what they were getting into when they signed on with helping flight test at the time. And I know like place like even like Hobby King, we'll address those a little bit later. But you can also go to, where the heck did I put that? I thought I put it in this top list. Motion RC. Motion RC has a lot of, anywhere ranging from like $100 ready to fly planes. That's where I got some of mine. And then they range all the way up to high end stuff. But you can also get parts and some kits and various ranges of things that are put together, right? So if you're looking to get parts, oftentimes the quadcopter manufacturers have a wide range of smaller motors. So if you're looking for like a park size plane that's looking to swing a 5-inch or an 8-inch prop, race day quads and get FPV, they're going to have parts and pieces that are really good. And any of these other hobby stores that we just mentioned, again, go into your local hobby store, Horizon Hobby, Tower Hobbies, Aloft Hobbies, Motion RC, even places like, we'll call it right now, he's a little guy like Windcatcher RC. He has a couple kits and a couple, ready, basically almost ready to fly kits that you can pull. He also has components, right?
Right.
But another like Hobbytown USA has a bunch. They carry flight tests. They carry Horizon Hobby. They have other. Most of the time they focus on ground. Hobby Zone, Banana Hobbies. Let's see. We talk about A Main Hobby. We talk about A loft, but the A main hobbies is another one. And those are ones where you're going to find a lot of components. Flight Test has all of their power pods are set up as individually purchasable components. And I mean, I know Joe and I have bought a number of their component sets, and they're very reliable. I mean, that's all I can say is that they're steady, they're sturdy, they're reliable. You can go to individual now, and at that point, then you can start looking at some of these larger guys, Tower Hobbies and things like that. And if you look at some of the individual manufacturers, like, there's a company called Badass Motors. If you look in AMA magazine, there's a big ad for them. But Sunny Sky, any of the motor manufacturers, they'll oftentimes have ESCs that go alongside it, that are either custom for that motor. So that way, when you're buying the kit, you kind of put the two together that you know they're going to work. You can also call, and then that's the other thing, is if you're looking to purchase stuff and you have any questions, call up the store. If there's a number, right? Most of these, like Tower Hobbies, A Main, A Loft, some of those guys, Banana Hobbies, call up their store. Motion RC, I think they've got a number. And start asking them questions like, I want to do this thing. This is my goal. This is what I'm aiming for. And have them help you pick out the thing you need. Flight Test sets up their pods so that you can buy just a setup. And it's the whole Monty. Well, you don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah. And the ESCs and motors, they're paired to go together. Like their size, their power-wise, like they're, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't just...
I had a thought on that, and it just completely went out my ear.
Probably just the fair warning of don't just grab an ESC. Like, if you grab a motor, you got to look at the prop you need, right? Because it'll indicate what kind of props it'll run. And with that, it'll also indicate what ESC it needs to have, because it'll tell you what kind of amp draw that motor is going to pull with that prop. And you can go to certain... I can't remember which... one of these websites has a really good breakdown, a really good breakdown. I know on the Badass, I was just on the Badass Motor site, and one of their motors, you click on it and it brings you to a sister seller, like one of their distributors. And on their site, they have a full table of all of the props you could ever think to buy that would go on this motor. And they will tell you exactly through the empirical testing that they did, how much it actually pulls. Right, it'll tell you how much thrust it generates, the static thrust, how much the static thrust generates, how much amps it pulls, how hot it got, and it'll give you what they ran into with that specific prop, because each prop is a little different. Each manufacturer makes them a little different, right? Some flex more, so they're not going to pull the same, different materials, different thicknesses, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean that's a whole separate couple episodes. Matter of fact, if you want, go back to episode 5 to our motors episode, and I think 6 was our ESCs. We talk about some of those items, and when we talk about propellers later, I can't remember what episode that is. Look into that, because they really affect how a motor performs. You got to look at it as one whole system. And so one of the benefits of these companies, right, is they sell all the components, but they still, like your local hobby store, they want you to succeed. They want you to go out there and have fun. You're inherently going to tank one of your planes probably and need new parts anyway. But if you had fun doing it and were successful, you're going to come back. So they want you to see success. And so you can look at some of these, call up any one of these companies, reach out to them, even if it's like a chat, and just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and let them help you find the right combinations. You don't have to guess. You can. I mean, you could educate yourself and go the long road, and you'll know a lot by the end of it. But if you're looking to just kind of get in the air, I honestly tend to recommend go get a flight test kit. It'll work. It'll work for planes of this size to this size, and you don't have to worry.
You're not going to go wrong doing that.
No,
you pay a little bit for it, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to. Again, we're not. I want to mention we're not sponsored by any of these people. There's nobody here that's telling us, this is what it needs to be. But
Mm-hmm.
Even talking to Lee, like we got, our friend over at Windcatcher RC. Again, he's just talked to us about a bunch of different things. He's been a member of the Discord for a while. And, I part of how we got to know him was, bought RC stuff when we were doing the Depron, carbon fiber when we were doing our Depron stuff. And so just talking to him, he started to get components and it takes a little bit to get a combo, but once you have it, it's like, okay, cool. This is the range it does. So you can build any plane that fits this kind of size, this kind of design,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I mean, they're really good places. Now, one of the things I haven't mentioned, and most of these guys are, as I understand it, stateside. They are American companies, generally speaking. Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I think they all are. Now, Hobby King is kind of a hybrid. They have an American warehouse. So when you buy from them and you buy batteries, if you're like Jesse, he lives apparently 3 blocks from the warehouse. So he'll literally walk down and with no wait time, just go get his stuff pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Which is why he's like, that's why I go to Hobby King, is because it's right there.
The perks of knowing people.
I know, right? Well, or at least living in down the street, right? But because they're in the country, shipping batteries isn't an awful mess, because usually it's bad, right? Usually it's pretty costly to ship batteries because they're hazardous materials and they need this extra special treatment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're buying from some of these Chinese companies, they're like, the prices may look great, but when you get to the shipping, especially if you have a battery, it's not going to, all of a sudden the attractiveness starts to wane. That's what I've noticed. I'm like, oh, cool. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay. Click, click, click. Let me get to the cart. Oh man, that price is looking great. Let me estimate my shipping. Oh yeah.
Shipping's a thing.
That's almost the same price as I could get it from any of the stores in the States. All right. Let me go to the stores in the States. It's not all that, not always that way. And there's certain components that I have a very hard time finding individually at any given store, right? So I will go to sites like AliExpress because they are really good at giving you components. But the caveat is you better know what you're getting, because there's very little instructions and there's very little guidance. So if you know what you're aiming for and their information is good enough for you to know that you're getting what you want, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad place. The prices are good, and it'll take some time to get to you, but the prices are the other half though you got to watch out is, and we've talked about it in past episodes, is that they may be knockoffs, literally, from a designer in the US who's making individual parts and had China manufacture it. And they also manufacture a knockoff brand, which is like, oh, these didn't pass the test for the American company, but we'll sell them as this and you'll get a discount. I mean, I don't know if that's what they always do, but I know that on AliExpress, that seems to be part of what they're selling, which, it has its place. Banggood, I know it seems like a weird name, but they have ready to fly stuff. Most of it's pretty small because, again, they're going to have to ship it all over the world, right? But they have balsa kits. I have word that they're not all the best quality, but they definitely have a bunch of components. You're going to get fairly good prices, but you're going to have to piece it together. You're going to have to know what you're buying.
And you're going to wait a little while for it.
You're going to wait about a month, maybe less, but generally speaking about that. Hobby King's similar. Again, they have an American warehouse, so the shipping time is can be, if you select it from the American warehouse, it'll be a week, right, or less, if you're in the continental U.S. They have stuff in Europe. They also have stuff in, I'm trying to remember where else. I think they have a couple different warehouses. So, depending on what company, where you live, some of these companies may not really be a good choice because they're going to have a hard time getting stuff out to you for a reasonable price. I've bought from China Line Hobbies, CNHL, and because they tend to have decent batteries, good prices, good sales, and they don't really kill you for the shipping. But there's a number of places in the States. I think one of the guys mentioned, what was it? RC batteries. I think that's a state-based one. So, and when you're looking for batteries, I would say find a company that sells batteries in your country or in your region. And likely the cost will be far more competitive because the shipping costs tend to be what kills the pricing on those.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think one thing I didn't mention is honestly Amazon. And some of it is these sellers that I just mentioned have a store on Amazon. So when you're buying, keep in mind like who you might be, because a lot of the time I find that I'm like, oh, finally I found my component on Amazon, which is great because you can use Amazon gift cards that people might get, gift you or things like that. But what you are is in the Hobby King store, right? Or one of these other manufacturers. You might be in their store of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not bad. I mean, you're going to get great shipping if you're like me and you've got the
Prime.
free, Prime. You've got expedited shipping already included in your login. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm going to probably go through Amazon and I'm going to get it to my door, and like, because they'll oftentimes house some of the products in the local warehouses. So you're going to get it even quicker than Hobby, than Hobby King.
3 hours.
Right? Sometimes it's crazy. But again, with anything, buyer beware. I found that Amazon does not have good descriptions. I think their descriptions are oftentimes very lacking, especially with regard to electronics. What I love about AliExpress and Banggood most of the time is that they will have manufacturer cut sheets available. So you can actually look at what you're looking for to get the specs you need to make sure you're getting what you want. And oftentimes then I'll look for it in other spots and go, yep, they're the same. Okay, cool. And if it's cheaper locally and I can get it faster, I'll order it there. But, oftentimes that's not even possible. So I'll, about every so often I'll buy from those other, those guys over in China. Because again, it's getting manufactured there. Most of the components, almost all the RC batteries get manufactured over in China. That's where it's like one or two plants manufacture all the lithium batteries at the moment. I think that's changing, but right now I think it's still all being manufactured in China. And what you're doing for paying for different companies like tattoo batteries, I think, like they're higher quality batteries. But then there's the ones that don't make that cut. They get into this brand. And then that lower quality go over to this other brand. So, I mean, they're all kind of manufactured in the same place. What you're doing is paying for gradations of quality, and depending on where you're buying from.
Interesting.
So, depends on what you want to do. And I don't have an inside track to these things. So, I mean, I could be wrong. By all means, go into our Discord and discuss it. We have a battery channel. Love to hear your thoughts.
We do, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, as a matter of fact, almost every one of these components in our Discord, not to shill it again, but I'm shilling it again anyway. We have basically all the major components of RC have its own individual channel. I'm not sure that we have a battery channel. Maybe
it's all the way down at the bottom.
Oh, there it is. It is at the bottom. Yeah. So we have like whenever there's one individual kind of component that people kind of lean out to, like, hey, which servers do you use? Okay, we have a server channel. That's where if you have any questions, like, hey, how do I waterproof this stuff? Okay, there you go. So that way you can kind of hone in on what you aim for, and then when you post it in those channels, you're going to get a more targeted response. But if you don't know, just put it in the general, and people will say, hey, go to the props or this, post it again in the motors or whatever.
I don't know if I've seen anybody like really direct someone to a different channel.
No, most of the time people are like, oh, it's there. Or, hey, so-and-so answered it in the motors, but here's the answer. But yeah. I'm looking to see. I think those are the big ones. I mean, those are the ones that I've ever, and it's funny because I looked at this is the list we mentioned a long time ago. I can't say that there's companies that have dropped out. Almost all the companies we mentioned way back in the day, they're all still major players in the hobby, as far as I can tell. I know that there's a handful of new ones that have come out like wind catcher wasn't a thing in the beginning, for example, and some of the other items. But if you, and that's the other thing, is if you have places you think are worth mentioning and making sure people know about, hey, this is a really good shop. I've used it before. It's always done right by me. Yeah, I mean, what you're gonna lack in the Chinese companies tends to be customer service. Banggood does okay sometimes, but it's hit or miss. Some of the U.S. shops aren't any better, but most of them pride themselves on good customer service. Race day quads and get FPV. As fast as you put the click in the cart box, and you've paid the order, it's like it's already shipping to your house. You're like, wait, how did you get it out the door that fast? Like, literally, did you have somebody waiting and we got an order, run, and they're just really running it out?
Quick before they cancel.
I know, right? No, it's not that. No, their orders are. I don't know how they do it. They pull, some of these orders go out ridiculously fast. But yeah, most of them kind of pride themselves on customer service. So, obviously everybody's mileage may vary. I've heard mixed reviews about Hobby King. There's times everybody's like, I love Hobby King. And there's other times like, Hobby King is the worst. I mean, unequivocally, they hate him. And they're like, okay, well, I also haven't had to return a ton of things. But every once in a while, they'll get something wrong. Yeah, it's, again, your mileage may vary. So I think that brings us... Joe, do you have anything you want to add to that? I mean, things that you've seen or you heard about? Because, I mean, Balsa, you got to go to your local hobby store or Balsa USA.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, that's... I mean, at this point, part shopping and otherwise, I've done all my shopping either Amazon or Flight Test store, or I find it locally.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on what it is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And again, that's reasonable. Some of these things aren't, they're just not easy to find. And when you find a store that has what you're looking for, more often than not, you kind of stick with it.
You tend to go there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why. And then, so let's reveal our top 5 Discord shopping spots.
Poll that you put together or asked and then tallied everything up.
Yep. So if I tally the numbers wrong, everybody can send hate mail to Joe at aviationrcnew.com.
Whoa, now.
Hey, now. No, you can send it to me. It's okay.
I'm not an all-star.
I know, right?
I'm not going to get my game on and go play.
Nice. Okay, so so let's see. The fifth place. And actually, most of these are pretty close to being tied. They're within one of each other. I think Amazon is, the lowest on that list of top 5s.
Okay.
And then right above it. So, and I think a lot of that is just people will go to these other spots first before they go to Amazon if they can. But
right, because they're probably trying to support the hobby.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just if you're careful about where you purchase from hobby or from Amazon, you are purchasing into the hobby, right? Like it's a hobby store on Amazon. You're not just chilling to some giant conglomerate Amazon that doesn't. But also you may be, and that's the thing I've noticed when shopping on Amazon, is you'll notice the delivery times are like, oh, everything's like 3 days, not even a day. Like it'll be there this afternoon. And then there's like, no, a month. Like, oh, I clicked on a store that put stuff on Amazon from China. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, they're not going to. Yeah, so you got to be a little wary when you're picking up RC stuff about where you might get it. Okay, so Amazon was at the bottom of the list and only by a hair. And then right above that were the next 3. They all tied. Local hobby shop. Yeah, I was surprised. Local hobby shop is the next one. We got the race day quads and flight test. Those all tend to be where people go get their components and parts and pieces. And that makes sense to me. You got Amazon, race day quad really has an amazing selections of of top end motors. I mean, these are things that are built for racing quads typically, hence race day quads. And they have a lot of FPV stuff, whereas Flight Test has very limited FPV, but they have a strong selection of motors, especially to go with products that they sell, right? And they have easy to build kits. That's a great way to get started. So a lot of the
brand
guys,
recognition and
and the people like, I love these videos, and plus they have support for all the stuff you buy, right? And the local hobby shop, you go in there. I mean, they're, again, we talked about it before. They're there to get you in the air. And if you go out and have a good time, even if you crash, you'll probably come back and ask them for help.
and
they're
there to help you.
They're there to help you and get you back in the air and have a good time again. Because they love the hobby as much as you do, if not more. Really. Okay. And let's see. So now we're at the top of the list. The top of the list surprised me, but then again, I realized a lot of the people that chimed in were kind of in the vicinity of Windcatcher RC, or a lot of what they mentioned is like, I get all my carbon fiber from Windcatcher RC. So they're almost always on my shopping list, because if you're building a profiler or some of the other planes that you can buy, you need to add carbon fiber to it if you want it to be lightweight and strong. And so where do you go get it but Windcatcher?
Yeah.
So
seems like a lot of our guys mess with carbon fiber at least a little bit. So
yeah. And if you're, if you're buying Depron stuff, you have to have it. I mean, I don't know what other way you can get Depron in the air without being floppy, but a lot of people use it because, again, it's really light and it's easy to work with. So, good stuff. So that's
well, good job, Lee, coming out on top.
Yeah, go you. Again, that was also just by hair. I mean, really, it's pretty cool. And then we've got a bunch of, I'm going to list the other companies that were kind of mentioned, just because I don't know, if you're new to the hobby and you don't know where to go to start getting some of your junk, I call it junk, but get some of your stuff.
My wife would say it was junk.
Well, a one man's junk is another man's treasure, right? Right. I know she is. So aside from race day quads, you get FPV. So let's see. We have rcbatteries.com. I think that was one where they said that and there was more than one person that said that they got their batteries from there. Where do you get your batteries, Joe? Usually the Ovonics from Amazon?
Okay. Yeah, I've just been getting the Ovonics because they perform well enough for me and price point's decent. I hadn't looked much else. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check out the RC batteries, though.
Yeah, me too. It's like every time I go somewhere, I'm like, it's about the same. Let's see, and I'm sure people are screaming at the mic, they're not all the same, and I got you.
Well, I mean, for me, a lot of times, like, I'll send a wish list to my wife and say, hey, when we fit it in the budget, here's what I want.
Yeah. That way it kind of comes in. It's almost like a surprise little birthday party there. Next ones were like Hobby King. Again, I think one of them was Jesse, and I know he lives right around the corner. And, honestly, I'm in that boat. I've bought stuff from Hobby King, and I still look there. Heck, we got our FPV goggles. I mean, we found that $35 sale for the box goggles. I mean, $35. You really can't beat getting to try out FPV. Now, it's not like the best ever. It's not bad at all. And it's certainly a way for you to experience whether or not you think you'll like it or not without breaking your bank. But you got to look for the sale on that one. McMaster Car. They said a lot of guys go there. They said they go there for their tools, which I was kind of surprised at. But I guess, you need pliers, you need files, you need, drivers of different sizes, Hex, Phillips. I don't know what else they sell. Sell a lot of other things, but apparently a lot of people, a handful of people go there. Altitude Hobby, Sunny Sky. So Sunny Sky is a motor manufacturer, and I'll say that I can click off my vote into that category. I've been there a couple times and bought stuff from them. They have really good quality motors.
Bless you.
Yeah, sorry. And then let's see. Value Hobby, A-Main, A-Loft, RC Castle. RC Castle. I think that's, I I think it's
Haven't
just
heard of that one.
No, me neither. So I'm curious to kind of check it out. And then AliExpress.
Castle.
Mm-hmm. And I know we're missing a ton, right? Like there's a number of different manufacturers that do a really good job of putting affordable kits or good quality kits out into the hobby. I don't know them all. What is the one when you're into balsa and you get to the bigger scale? They're like the go-to. I know Tony's mentioned them a handful of times, and I can't think of. Shoot, I'm not going to remember it because my brain's searching for it. I'll never find it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, RC Castle's got some cool stuff.
Okay, nice. It's so there's that's a multitude of places to go take a look, and see. Yeah, obviously you've got our community, which is people who are newer to the hobby, generally speaking, not always.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our top fives were Windcatcher RC, Flight Test, Race Day Quads, local hobby shops, and Amazon. Is where they tend to go to try to get either their full kits, ready to flies, almost ready to flies, or their components. Yeah, and that's the thing is, not everybody is here flying planes. A number of us are flying quadcopters as well. So yeah, I'm glad that Race Day, because if it wasn't mentioned, Race Day Quads or Get FPV, I was going to be mentioning them. Because I've gone there for almost all my FPV stuff. But both of those, I kind of shop it out there. And then when I'm looking at like the motors I put into the SR-72, I think I purchased them from Race Day Quads.
Okay.
Because they were like high end. This quadcopter is going to burn your butt kind of setups, and I was like, let me go there because they're going to have a good price. So yeah.
All right. Well, in lieu of talking in circles, sort of repeating some things that we talked about earlier, I think that pretty much covers what we wanted to go over today.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. So don't forget, join us for the sim party. Join us for one of the build nights. I'm going to be there more often than I usually am because of build jewelry. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there who can make it. And if not, we'll catch you next time. Right?
All right. Well,
you going to bring us out, Joe?
Yeah, I was about to say, if there's nothing else.
No, we're good.
All right, guys. Well, as always, we thank you for tuning in and listening. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed having the discussion, and hopefully you learned as much as I did, because these are some of these places I hadn't gone to shop at, so I'm going to have to go check some of these out. Links will be down in the doobly-doo. Thank you, Matthew Colville.
Thank you, Colville.
And yeah, feel free to swing by, join our Discord. Link will be down in the show notes. Check us out on Facebook. We have a group and a page, but join the group. You can email us, Matthew at aviationrcnoob.com. You can reach me, Joe at aviationrcnoob.com, or you can email us both at the same time by emailing aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. I think that's about all I have for the outro. So
excellent. I have one item. If you've listened this far, that's okay. If you listen this far, I almost forgot. Hey, we did get a response or two on noobs who would like to share their story. It's a segment that we want to start up and see how that goes. So we've got a couple first takers. And if you are interested to tell us how you got into the hobby, what your experiences were, what some of your hurdles were, so we can help you, more importantly, have you help other newcomers kind of jump over those hurdles a little bit quicker. And we can all learn from and laugh and have fun and enjoy the sharing of those experiences, because most of us have had those too. We'd love to have you reach out. I think aviationrcnoob@gmail.com is probably the best spot to reach out on that. But you can reach out to us any which way, and we'll see if we can't find those. But yeah, if you're interested in wanting to share your story, let us know. I forgot about that. I meant to put that in the community section. So
that's fine. I also forgot to mention that our last episode, I apparently didn't select the correct recording mic.
Oh,
So my audio was terrible last episode. So sorry for that. I meant to discuss that at the top of the show, but
that's okay.
Here it is.
Now it's a lot better now. We learned.
I appreciate that.
We grew. It's better.
Yeah. All right. Nothing else?
Nope. That's it.
All right, guys. We will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Good night, Nancy. Or is it Gracie?
Good night, Gracie.
Is it Gracie?
Well, yeah, because it was it George Burns, I think? It was always like, all right, say goodnight, Gracie. And it's just say, goodnight, Gracie.
I wasn't watching whatever that was.
Well, George Burns was like 104 when I was young. He's been in show.
We all know you got like 20 years on me.
Oh, man. I hope it's not that big. No, it's not that big.
No, I think it's what? Like
10, 15.
10?
Yeah.
Oh,
but anyway, no, George Burns did Oh God, You Devil, or what the heck, back in the 80s. And he was like 90 something, smoking a cigar. He was puffing away.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ready to shut it down?
Yeah, let's stop recording.
All right. But what that does mean is I need to... What are you doing?
Making noise? Making the recording difficult?
Could
for
you
you?
be a little quieter, please? Or could you be a little louder?
She could be louder. She could do it.
I know. Let's see if we can do this.
Or we could do an NPR version. Hi, I'm your host, Matt Allen. I'm here to talk with Joe Webb about our favorite shopping spots for RC. Yeah.
Or we could do Robin Williams from... Oh, my God. Good Morning,
man.
Vietnam.
Oh, jeez.
Hot off press. Whatever those sound effects he did were.
Hot off the press is a new place to go shop. It's Wincoach RC. All your needs for carbon fiber.
Now to somebody in the field, so-and-so.
It's hot out here. It's so hot. I can't even feel my brains are leaking out my ears. It's too hot. I'm melting.
It's hot. It's hot. It's too hot.
I'm not sure. It's so hot. I could do some crotch pot cooking. Now to our correspondent in Meeting.
All right.
Where's the stuff from yesterday?
Just scroll up a little further. You'll find it.
No, I went too far. That's the problem.
Oh, well, I can't help you there.
No.
Just scroll down some. You'll find it.
Oh, hey, thanks. Oh,
I
look,
got
here,
you.
I found it.
I got you, bro.